The forest had grown colder since yesterday. Not the usual bite of winter, but a deep, unnatural chill that seemed to seep into my bones. Snow crunched sharply beneath my boots, each step echoing in the frozen silence. The hollow from before was behind me, and yet I could feel its presence, distant, patient, like a heartbeat buried beneath the snow. I kept moving, following no trail but instinct. The shapes I had seen earlier, the pale, gliding figures, were nowhere in sight, yet I felt their gaze on me. Every branch, every shadow seemed to twitch in acknowledgement, as though the forest was aware of my presence. A gust of wind rattled the pines. It carried with it a faint sound, metallic scraping, almost like claws dragging across ice. I froze, listening. Nothing. The wind died, but the sense of being watched didn't. I swallowed, forcing myself to move forward. My boots sank into fresh powder, leaving footprints that the forest would likely erase by morning. I stumbled upon a ridge overlooking a frozen lake. The surface was glossy, reflecting the pale gray sky. And there, at the edge, I saw something impossible. A figure kneeling, frozen mid-motion, staring into the ice. Its back was to me, shoulders tense, like it had been waiting for something. I called out, my voice cutting through the silence. Nothing. Not a breath. Not a turn, not a sound. Slowly I approached, keeping my distance. The figure didn't move, and yet, as I drew nearer, I noticed the reflection in the ice. Not one reflection, but dozens, faint, overlapping. The figure remained still, but the reflection shifted, stretching, bending, multiplying. Something about it was wrong. I stepped back, heart hammering, and tripped slightly over a hidden root. Snow sprayed around me. The figure didn't react. I realized with a shiver that it had not been alive in the conventional sense. Its posture was perfect, almost sculpted, yet it radiated a presence that was entirely aware. The wind picked up again, carrying the whispers. A chorus of faint, breathy sounds, unintelligible but urgent. I shivered. The hollow, the forest, the gliding shapes, all of it felt connected, as though I had stepped into a network of intelligence that was older than the trees themselves. Suddenly a crack split the air. The frozen lake beneath the figure groaned. I froze. Then the ice beneath it shattered silently, swallowing the reflections. I blinked, but the figure was gone. Only the fractured surface remained. My pulse quickened. Something in the forest had moved it, or removed it. I looked around. The trees had grown darker, twisted slightly, as though the forest itself were leaning inward, observing. A new pathway appeared before me, faint in the snow. I knew instinctively, this wasn't random. The forest was guiding me, or perhaps trapping me. With every cautious step, I felt the whispers grow louder, closer, almost at the edge of my hearing. Shapes began to emerge again from the snow-drifted shadows, pale, thin, gliding, circling. But this time they weren't random. They were lining the path, creating a corridor of pale silhouettes leading deeper into the unknown. I hesitated. My instincts screamed to turn back, but curiosity, training, and stubbornness pushed me forward. I walked into the corridor, my breath fogging, my heart hammering. Snow fell thicker now, muffling the forest around me, leaving only the tap-tap of ice underfoot and the soft whispering voices. Deeper into the forest, the shapes shifted, moving in patterns I couldn't anticipate. Sometimes they glided ahead, sometimes behind, sometimes appeared at the edge of my vision, gone the moment I turned. Every time I looked down, I noticed new footprints in the snow, smaller than mine, human-like but too delicate, circling, weaving, never leaving. I followed the path until I reached another hollow, smaller this time, almost hidden under a cluster of pines. Snow had drifted into a mound, concealing its edges. The air here was heavier, colder. My chest tightened, breath coming in shallow, visible bursts. I crouched to examine the hollow. Faint symbols were carved into the surrounding trees. Rings, spirals, shapes that felt familiar yet alien. I traced one with my gloved hand. It vibrated slightly under my touch, a subtle thrum that went through my arm, like the forest itself was alive. A whisper rose sharply in my mind, urgent this time, not outside but inside my head. The shapes circled faster. The shadows danced closer. I stumbled back, barely catching myself. The hollow seemed to pulse, almost breathing, expanding slightly with the rhythm of the whispers. Instinct screamed at me to leave, yet I could not. Something drew me forward, deeper into the hollow's center. Snow shifted underfoot. A pale mist rose, curling like smoke, obscuring the edges of my vision. I could no longer distinguish where the snow ended and the shadows began. Then I saw movement within the mist. A figure emerged, taller than any human, faceless, glimmering with frost. It extended an arm slowly, pointing toward the edge of the hollow. The whispers surged, overwhelming yet incomprehensible, urging me to step closer. I did. My boots sank into soft snow at the hollow's center. The mist swirled violently, the shadows spinning. I felt weightless for a moment, as if gravity had weakened. The forest seemed to stretch upward, downward around me. My vision blurred. When it cleared, I was standing on solid ground again, though the hollow remained beneath me, unchanged. The figure had vanished. Only the smaller gliding shapes lingered, now retreating slowly into the trees, disappearing one by one. The whispers faded, leaving a ringing silence. My pulse slowed, but my mind was racing. Something ancient and patient had observed me, tested me, and let me go, for now. I turned, tracing the faint path that led back to where I had started. The snow had shifted again, erasing footprints, obliterating the trail. I realized that the forest didn't just watch. It controlled. It decided who left, who remained, and who became part of it. The sun was low on the horizon, casting long gray shadows across the snow. I forced my legs to move, retracing steps I no longer recognized, seeking the edge, seeking safety. Every sound, crackling ice, whispering wind, distant branches snapping, and reminded me I was not alone. By the time the first lights of the evening appeared through the pines, I had emerged onto a faint trail, partially familiar. The forest behind me loomed large and silent. The hollow, the shapes, the whispers, they were still there, waiting for the next wanderer. I kept walking, and I knew I would never truly leave. The forest had marked me, and the frost-bound shadows would remain in my mind, circling, patient, waiting.